Your mind embraces you, and all your thoughts are trying, living, and going into balance with self. Open that portal to the next galaxy, the next universe, the next dimension. Along this trip, our captain extraordinaire is Dr. Cicely D. Angela. Allow her to guide you, introduce you, and embrace our depth with great resources from the unknown.
Well, you can't be on this and this at the same time.
To remove the illusion that you have
Am
about
I on
your
something else?
surroundings and your this test of the matrix of which you live. Let's go and
I sent it.
walk on this journey. Food Alchemy Network. Dr. Cicely D. Angela.
I'm going to send it again.
And grooving with you alone with her illustrious guest that she has presented on this luxury network of Food Alchemy Network. So without further ado, welcome to Food Alchemy Network and welcome our guest and art and luxury host, Dr. Cicely D. Angela. Blessing.
Hello, everybody. This is Chef Ceci. We're doing coffee with Ori today. I got a little glitch, so I'm going to play a little music. We're going to be with you in like 2 seconds. Do 2 shakes of a goose feather. That's what we're going to have to do. I'm going to play Zakora Heart for a minute and blast off. It just sent it again. Thank you. You got it? Yeah. All right.
Where am I? I don't know. Okay, let me turn this off.
Okay, everybody, for you out there that is Heart Made of Two from Zakor Ataman of the Heart, you can find that on YouTube or look Zakor Ataman, the Heart, and you'll be able to find that too. That's my favorite tune, as y'all can see, because it has the heartbeat. And we have Lester Loving coming on. He is here. Uh-oh, wait a minute. He just called this drop. All righty. So without further ado, we're going to introduce, because this is Coffee with Ori hour. So say hello to the folks and your coffee.
Hello, everyone. Oh, and by the way, thank you for Saturday. It was an amazing experience, not just for me, but for all of the shares.
Okay, everybody out there on Periscope that's asking me to wave, I'm waving. Hello. Maximo 2375, Mega, Biko, and D-Man 23. Hello, hello. How are you? These are the people that are on Facebook and Periscope. Thank you for tuning in. I am waiting for Lester Loving to get back on the line. Okay, let me see. All right. My friend, Professor Lester Loving, are you there? Are you there? Hold on. Hold on. Let me. Okay. Now say speak, 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 speak. Hello? Okay. For some reason, my phone is not doing the loud thing. I don't know what's going on. It's not being as loud as it usually is. Okay. Now speak. Say hello. All right. Gotcha. Gotcha. Loud and clear. I'm here. I'm here. You're here. We got you. Everybody can hear? Can you hear?
Very well.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do that. Put you over there. Oh gosh. All right. Okay. So I want to welcome you, and hopefully, I know they probably can hear it. And we want to say in the Badlands. That's BTR on Blog Talk Radio. I know that you can be heard, so I appreciate that. So what can I do? I'm going to try this too, because sometimes one phone is better than the other. So, Ori, entertain me.
What do you want me to say? I keep
You said,
playing echo.
I know, because I don't know what's going on. This phone is like, da 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 da. I'm in the studio, so hold on.
Maybe I need to lower the volume of mine.
That would be lovely.
But what the hell is that volume?
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can.
Yeah, let me lower the volume of mine because it's all the way up.
Okay,
Is it better?
it's fine on my end. Either way, come on.
Yeah, I don't hear the echo.
What about you, Lester? Do you hear an echo? Okay. All right, I'm gonna put that on hold. All right, forever hold your peace. Do we got everybody in the house? Like I said, woo! I can tell. I guess I need to calm down all the way down, right?
You need some coffee.
I know I got tea. That's good for me right now because I don't need no coffee.
You
I'll
got
be
to.
bouncing all over the ceilings. So, all right, everybody. This is my favorite friend, Lester Loving. I appreciate him taking the time out in the day and spending with me today, tonight, my time, but it's real nighttime, like 9 o'clock there with you guys.
Yeah, 9:08.
He's on the East Coast too, Professor Lovin. Right? Hello? Hello? All right, wait a minute. Why am I not hearing anything?
There you go, breaking electrical stuff now.
Be quiet. I am, this is what's going on. Okay.
Unmuted.
Okay, I unmuted myself. Okay. All right, Lester Lovin, I'm sorry, love. It's good. I mean, so I thank you for coming. We are going to tell people what you do. Not who you are, but what you do. So your intro, my friend. I said I put you the professor of knowledge of the universe.
That's a mighty big university.
Why not?
Basically, what I do, several decades ago, I started studying, or I heard about using magnets for physical healing, crystals for physical and emotional balancing, and pyramid energy, in the pyramid or shape energy. And while I was actually learning about these things, I was urged very strongly to find how these things worked.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to learn science and then metaphysics and, of course, study ancient Egypt. So basically what I do now is I build pyramids, I work with crystals, and I balance people's homes and environments.
Ooh, balance people's homes and environments. Ain't that that's a bit tricky because everybody's home is not the same. I like that.
Well,
Balance.
But once again, every situation is quote unquote different.
Yes.
But it's what they have in common that we can work with.
Okay. I like that. I like that. So
Go ahead. Before we get to whatever we're going to get into, I just want to say that while many people in the community use pyramids for metaphysical or spiritual things, and I do that too, but my area is in terms of purifying food and energizing water using pyramid shapes.
Now we're getting into my territory. Okay, let's go.
As well as growing the food of the pyramid shapes. But okay, so I think we want people to think this is all
I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, so what would you like to get into?
What happened?
I got clicked off. I told you, I'm trying to calm down. I'm trying to calm down.
I told you what happens when you get crazy. Eventually will start getting crazy.
For y'all out there that's on the radio, what actually happened, or out there, what happened is my computer disconnected and then connected me back in the live audio. So
Okay,
I apologize.
I have a question. He's a doctor, right?
No, he's a studier. He's a scientist.
Okay.
Yes.
My question to him is why pyramid shapes? I mean, I know that there are other shapes, but why the pyramid? I mean, people always gravitate to pyramid, but I mean, why would he use pyramid? He said to balancing out the house, but would it be, the first question is why pyramid? The second question would be, you talked about balancing the energy of the houses, but is it the way that we clear a house for spiritual energy, or is it just vibrational?
Okay. Which question would you like me to answer first?
The first one. Why the pyramid?
Okay. Well, see, once again, had the leading way of thinking at the time that I started investigating these things is that there was something unique and special and, in fact, spiritual about the pyramid shape. And however, I ran into this whole realm of science called morphic resonance. And that's just a big fancy way of describing the science of how energy interacts with all shapes.
Mm-hmm.
So, in fact, what makes the pyramid quote unquote unique is not that it has energy or energy resides in it. What makes the pyramid unique is that the energy that it draws into itself resides in that area until it's directed or used. Whereas in most things, such as cells or our homes or our bodies, we take energy and we let off that energy. So the pyramid shape allows us to build a structure that will hold on to, that will allow this energy to resonate, and then we can take advantage of that energy. But in a broader sense, what I'm trying to say is that there's nothing unique about the pyramid shape versus any other shape. We just have to study the 5 foundational shapes, which we now call sacred geometry. And from there, we get a greater understanding of, because some shapes are better at letting off energy.
I like that.
See, like this. This is.
I'm sorry. Remind me the second question.
He can't see. He can't see. He can't see.
Okay. Well, the second question. Well, you know what? Before we go on to the second question, I'm going to add a question to this question you just answered. You said about using crystals, but from what I've seen of your work, a lot of it is done with copper. Why copper?
He does it with wood and papers too.
Oh, okay. So you don't just use copper. You also use all the elements.
Yes. I mean, sorry.
Well, okay,
Let me
hold
start
on. That's
answering.
a very big. That's a very big question. In fact, almost all of the things I make is made. It has copper on it, but it's not solid copper. I use copper paint. I mean, I don't mean paint that looks like copper. I mean paint that actually has copper in it.
Okay.
But it's not, my materials are not copper. And that was one of the things, I didn't invent the pyramids, but through my studies, I've introduced several of the things I've experimented with into the scientific or the metaphysical community. And one of the things that I introduced into the community is the fact that there are many books out there that say in order for a pyramid to work, it has to be made out of a metal. And so many people challenged me over the years in terms of materials that I work with. But in fact, I've always said, let's build 4 pyramids. One out of cardboard, one out of copper, one out of glass, and one out of plastic. And if we do that, or at the time that we've done that, we find that the only one that's inefficient at holding the energy is plastic. So that's one of the just doing actual experiments and doing actual studies, we find that it opens us up to using many different materials to make the pyramid shape. It's more the shape. If there's a general rule at all, it's the more homogeneous the shape, the more effective the pyramid. So in other words, the more the same throughout, the more solid the material. Not dense, but if it's all wood, cardboard having holes between the layers of the paper is still effective, but it's not quite as effective as wood because it's not as homogeneous. That's the only basic rule about pyramids.
Does it have anything to do with the porous?
Yeah, there's a hole.
I'm sorry.
Does it have anything to do with the fact that cardboard is porous? It has some plastic is not porous. Like there's PVC, and then there's different types of plastic variations, and some of them are porous and some of them are not. So would the cardboard have anything to do with the fact that it is porous?
Really, we're getting into details that we don't, I would discuss anything. But the fact of the matter is, if I make a pyramid out of the copper that has the holes in it, and I make a pyramid out of ebony, the densest wood, they're both going to be effective. They're both going to work.
Okay.
So it's the shape. It's the shape more than anything else that's the governing principle. A lot of what I work with is aesthetics, because either people want a particular color for a healing or emotional balancing property, or they're attracted to certain metals.
Makes sense.
Okay. So there we go to question number 2. Now you're talking about balancing. You're talking about balancing the energies of the homes, but does balancing also work with balancing people?
Okay. So just let me talk for a while. Okay. When we look at various scenarios in nature, such as the ocean, waterfalls, the forest, we find that it has a balance of negative to positive ions. That's 70% negative to 30% positive. And ions is basically just water molecules that are coming apart and going back together, so at a very rapid rate. We, meaning for the last 25,000 years, people throughout all civilizations have known that there's an association between moving water and health. Either, city-states were built next to a river or moving water, or they diverted the river, such as in Egypt, or they had wars over water rights. But having forests, having moving water is essential to life. When we come into the type of structures that we live in today, with all the building materials as well as the appliances and the electronics that we use, we have just the opposite. We have 30% negative ions, 70% positive ions. So to address both what you were saying and what Ceci was also saying, regardless of the person's lifestyle, regardless of where they live, helping to reverse that 30-70% negative, a positive to negative ratio is what I do in the house. And there are several simple things that we can do, such as your main culprit as far as positive ion generation is your television, simply because the radiation field from the television goes 50 feet out from the screen. So even for people that don't have a television in their homes, if their neighbors have a television pointing from their apartment into theirs, you're getting that radiation. So there are several things that we can do just with the basic things that we live with, such as your television, not your television, our television. That, for example, in the case of the television set, instead of the radiation going 50 feet, that is now going 6 inches. So it's not even coming that far out from the screen. It's not affecting us at all.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. See?
Now that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. But what I'm basically trying to say, as Stephanie will tell you, people call me every day worried about 5G. What are we going to do about 5G? And she'll tell you, my answer is, what are we doing about 1 through 4G? Okay? We're sitting here acting like this thing that's coming, this, asteroid that's coming to Earth, who knows when, 3 years from now, when. But we've got these things that are affecting us now, and no one seems to take them seriously enough. Because these things all have, I'm going to finish. These things all have long-term effects. They don't affect us. We don't break down right away. I'm sorry. That's all I want to say.
You're right. That's what he was agreeing with you. That's what he's saying. He was agreeing with you. But also, let me just dabble a little bit longer. Let me dabble a little bit shorter.
for the first 10 years of my research, and my research involves agriculture, actually growing the food, and in my case, growing it under pyramidal, skeletal, but pyramidal structured things. So wooden, giant, 10 foot, 15 foot, 20 foot wooden pyramid.
Right.
And measuring the food and all that, because I'm going to get to what you asked me about the testing, or how, how do we measure it? And so, all my friends have backyards or lived out in the country. Well, not all my friends, but several people that were pyramids had the ability to have these things, especially if you're going to store your food in. After I came back to New York City, and I'm describing the stuff to people, and there are books about this too. I'm not the only one that knew about this. This was the known since the 30s. People all were interested, but they kept saying the same thing. I don't have a space big enough to have a pyramid that I can get into. And so raving around eventually, looking at the various culprits that generate positive ions, eventually science revealed to me that, even if we have a bunch of plants that are generating negative ions in our room, and we got the salt lamp, and of course, quartz crystals and pyramids all generate negative ions as well. But even if I have all those things in my house, and I turn my refrigerator off, and I've got my crystal on my TV set, and all that stuff, there's still a culprit in our homes that's generating the most negative ions, and that is the 90-degree corners at the top of our rooms. And so there are two very basic things that we can do to overcome this. The first thing is cutting out a triangle that will fit up in that corner, not flat against the wall, but that will three-dimensionally face down into the room, so that you've got the whole corner covered, and you've actually changed that. You change that corner from 3 90-degree angles into now 4 180-degree angles. So literally, you change the direction. You've allowed the positive ions to start moving again. It's also true that negative ions accumulate wherever there's a point. So in the case of the triangle, I've got 3 points. So that's 3 places where the negative ions can hang out and wait for the positive ions to come along and re-merge with them. The way that I amplify this principle is simply by stacking more triangles onto the initial triangle. So the first triangle might be 4 inches. The second triangle might be 3.5 inches on each side. And the third triangle might be 3 inches. And now instead of having 3 points of generation, I've got 9 points of generation. The second, I'm sorry?
He was agreeing. He's just agreeing.
And okay. And the second part that brought this whole thing together was the fact that once we place a quartz crystal into water, and so I'll say it's like 16 ounces of water. So if I take a Snapple bottle, a glass Snapple bottle, and I fill it with tap water, and I put the quartz crystal in there, and I just wait 24 hours, because the glass does not have a crystalline structure, the negative ions that are generated by the quartz being against the water is now radiating out of that bottle 2 feet. And eventually, after 3 days, it will go 3 feet out. Of course, it won't go through the table because negative ions don't pass through physical matter. Positive ions do. So over a series of years, I learned how to coil copper wire around the quartz crystal. Not just wrap it randomly, but literally like a coil where one thing is right next to the other. And the more coils, the faster the water moves, the more negative ion generation. Eventually, I started studying about circuits and diodes, and I added a condenser to the outside of the bottle. And that's just basically drawing a circuit onto it. And now, instead of it going 4 feet, this thing now radiates 15 feet. So if I have 2 of these bottles, this will cover your whole apartment. and all you do is you change the water once a month, and it works forever. Now, in terms of measurement and all this stuff, of course, one of the principles about negative ionization, or that is to say, if we put these triangles up in our homes and we put our quartz crystals into our bottles of water, we will be able to take a meter that measures carbon dioxide. And we, of course, you take a measurement before you put the triangles up. And then after you put them up, you will see that the meter will register that there's less carbon dioxide in our environment. More dust will fall to the floor. The rate of our digestion will speed up. And here's the kicker. The work of Frances Cress Welsing, who a lot of people know about her political theories, equally as important, and the foundation of her work was the science that she did. And she and her posse, of course she's called, if I call them that, but she and her scientific group of people were able to make the link that without a certain amount of negative ions, the melanin doesn't fully function.
What?
And the closer we get, yeah, that's right. The direct connection that at 70%, the melanin completely is activated. I don't care if you've been eating candy bars all your life and watching TV all day. At 70%, that pineal gland, if you hang out in that environment long enough, will be calcified.
Oh my God.
So that's what I'm saying. That's the first step in terms of us energizing. We're not just taking away the negative. We're actually energizing the positive at that point.
That's cool.
Well, it's interesting because we were talking about the pineal gland the other day.
Yes.
So I find it to be very, very. What is it with the pineal gland that's so? It's. I would say scientists, and I would even go as far as saying government. Why is it that when they try to destroy the certain particular glands, why is it so important for them to get to numb those glands?
Why the pineal gland? That's your basic question. Why do they target the pineal gland? Okay. Well, what is the function of the pineal gland? They tell us. They tell us that the pineal gland is the third eye.
Okay.
And in fact, okay. Hold on, applause. When we look at the development of the embryo, we find out that in fact its gland resides on the forehead. And as the embryo is developing, it will then go back into the brain until it resides where we know it, as adults. The pineal gland, if you look at the medical book, and I had the privilege of meeting someone from Harvard who gave me their medical book, and the pineal gland, they described it as the organ that governs sight, or as they put it, it is the regulator of light that goes into and comes out of the body. Upon further investigation, we find out that in fact, everything that's in the electromagnetic spectrum is vibrating at the speed of light, and only 3% of that is visible. In other words, the pineal gland uses the melanocytes in order to decode the various frequencies that are coming from deep space or back in time, whichever way you want to say.
Wow.
So, if you want to stop people from being in contact with their ancestors, with their ancient knowledge, with even, because the farther back you can see, the farther forward you can see as well. So if I had only one budget and I could only address one aspect in order of controlling people, that's what I would do.
Okay. Now I want to ask you a question. I remember reading an article, because we were talking about this too the other day. I remember reading an article about some scientists from either Germany or Russia in the 1920s told the government, the U.S. government, that if they put fluoride in the water, that it will start to dim the pineal gland, and therefore we will not be able to be aware of things that are around us more openly. Have you ever heard something like that? Because I remember I read that somewhere years ago.
Oh, yeah, yes, okay, that's true.
He said it's true.
Mm-hmm.
But
No, I think the book is incredible. I think what you're doing is amazing.
He said he thinks the work that you're doing is incredible. Pastor Loving.
Okay, hey, listen to me. I said I was going to babble for a while. Let me keep babbling, okay? The pyramid science, and I don't want you to make any separation of regular science, quote unquote regular science, from ancient Egyptian science or cosmic science. All science is the same. It's the investigation of how to live a good life and how to be in contact with the soul. That's what science is, okay? All science, I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
We're talking about science. You're talking about science and breaking it. You're just breaking it down.
Okay. Here's the thing. You know, as the old people used to say when I was a kid, we've been sold a bill of goods.
Okay.
Yes, what you said is true. No, hold on. What you said is true. Okay, but I can go on and on. For example, yes, somebody told us that, absolutely. And it just so happened that the gentleman who was the lawyer for the aluminum company happened to be related to somebody in the government, and he was able to get this bill passed so that they would put the fluoride in all the water and all the toothpaste. Well, it just so happens that fluoride is a byproduct. When they make aluminum, fluoride is one of the toxic byproducts. So before they got this passed, they had to dispose of this thing very gingerly. So this answered a whole bunch of questions for them, not just taking the people out, but making money at the same time. You know, now you're making money off of something that was junk. And here's the major point I'm trying to say about pyramid science. We've been sold this bill of goods that all this stuff is so immutable and so powerful and so, oh my God, it'll change your DNA. You'll have children with 3 eyes. Who said? Okay? Anybody? Who the fuck said that? Okay? And what I mean by that is this completely toxic thing that everybody in our community knows is toxic. Aluminum. And yet we can't wait to go to the store and order our curry beans, our rice and peas, and get it in that aluminum tray. Okay? We all know this shit is toxic. And yet, if we took that same tray, or you go to the store and you get that 100-foot roll of rental wrap, and you place that in a pyramid, don't place that in a pyramid with your food. But if you place that in a pyramid and just leave that there for 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, you can take that aluminum floor, go to McDonald's, get the Big Mac, Zap the Big Mac and the fries and the shaking and moving for about 60 seconds, and it will take the toxins out. What I'm trying to say is, the sooner we start investigating, quote unquote, alternative energy systems, in other words, the sooner we break out of jail here and start getting back to what nature's showing us, the sooner we find out that it's our job as stewards to reverse this nonsense.
Yes, sir.
5G, all of it. Genetically modified organisms, that ain't no problem. The Egyptians back in the day, when you had an ailment like sickle cell, and you came from another culture, you went to Egypt, and they went into their sound chamber, and they had the different technicians for, they had one technician for each note from A to A. And so they found where you were out of alignment, and they were able to process using lasers and sound. So when you came out of that chamber, not only did you no longer have the sickle cell, but you were not genetically able to pass it on to your offspring anymore. They genetically altered. That's genetically modified organisms. That's what we're talking about.
All right, now. I'm putting what you're saying in the chat box. It's like I'm trying to keep it all up. Investigate our alternative sources.
All I'm saying is, people call me every time something happened. When Fukushima happened, I didn't have to turn on the TV because all day my phone was, what we gonna do? And I tell them we use our pyramids and crystals and magnets and whatnot. And the next accident happens, what we gonna do? We have to learn to apply that which we already know. I'm not saying that we know everything, but I do know that when I started, I was anti-science. You couldn't talk to me about anything scientific because I'd been abused by the science community when I was young. But the universe had better plans. And so therefore, once I spent a whole year learning how to talk their language, they didn't deplete anything from my African history or African spirituality. Didn't teach them that at all. But once I was able to learn certain just key phrases and key understandings, and by the way, as soon as I dip my head into this fountain of knowledge, one of the first things I learned is that a lot of stuff that science claims to know, they don't fully know.
Sure.
They're investigating just like we are.
Yep. Yes, sir.
So that gives everybody a fair chance.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Okay.
So you want to add something else? Because you got callers, you got people lining up. You got like 7 people have their hand raised. They want to ask you questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me see. Caller 574. I'm going to unmute you. Welcome to Food Alchemy Network and Coffee with Ori. And our special guest, Professor Lester Loving.
Greetings. This is Mama AZ, parent calling you from the Buffalo Soldier Camp at Fort Naco, Arizona. Where are you, sir? And what do your pyramids? How do I order, or can you call me? Get my number from the little sister there, and I want to know about those pyramids because, boy, I need 4 to start with. This is interesting. They're like, how do they fit in the corner? Okay. Just put them up by a thumbtack.
No, okay. Let me work backwards. Okay. Once you cut out your triangles, you can apply them in multiple ways. You can use thumbtacks. You can use tape. Because most people, a lot of people want it to be aesthetically pleasing. So I use a hot glue gun, and I just put a little dab of hot glue on the three corners, and I just hold it in through the groove, because you got a groove coming down from the top and a groove going to the left and a groove going to the right. So let's put that glue onto the tips and just press it up there for a minute. It'll cool down and it'll solidify in place. But anything we can do to keep them up there, that will work. And also, I mean, just in general, I tell people to put your hand up in front. I mean, because you're going to get on the ladder usually. So put your hand up in that corner before you put the triangle up. And then put your hand up, after you put the triangle up. You will feel a slight, like a slight breeze or a slight little current. That's the negative ion I'm talking. Now, see, once again, man, one of the things that I gave up, I mean, of course, we spend a lot of time, we don't spend as much time circulating with the populace. And so therefore, when people want to take advantage of these technologies, it is not about, contacting you to find out my pyramids. First, I have to talk to you and find out what your interests are. Like, in other words, are you going to use the pyramid for purifying your food? Are you going to put it on your head to meditate with? Are you placing it in your car? So in other words, I don't even want to know what you want to use pyramids for. I first have to find out what your lifestyle is like. And therefore, then we can, after I find out what things I need balancing or that you want to improve your energy level. Then there's the second phase. And the second phase, of course, is that our attention is always drawn to the Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid. Okay? Hey! Now, I say it just like that because just by the fact that most people know it as the Great Pyramid, well, there are three big boys, right? Two right next to it. Okay? I had made the assumption, like a TV show back in the day, the Odd Couple, when the man said, I assumed, the guy said, when you assume, you make an ass of you and me. Okay, so I assumed that, like any brick that we got now, that you just say, I want to have a pyramid, and you cut a bunch of bricks and you put them together. Only when I start to actually look at the actual building and realize that not all the steps are the same height. As a matter of fact, very few are the same height, which meant that each level had to have a different size brick. And then when I go back a little bit further, because I'd assumed that all the other pyramids, the Great Pyramid was just a larger version of the other pyramid. I assumed, you build a skyscraper, it's rectangular, it's all the same principle. In fact, I was absolutely wrong. No two pyramids in ancient Egypt have the same angle. Well, they might have the same angle, but not the same minutes and seconds of degree. Not any two of them. They're all unique. So we've broken it down into the 8 basic notes, like, A, B, C, D, G, E, F, G. So there, we got from a 38 degree angle to a 76 degree angle. So we figure out which angle is the best for whatever principle we're working with. Now, of course, we know that the 51 degree angle that's right there in Giza, that's the universal angle. Whatever it is that you're working with, that particular pyramid will work. It also happens to be the same angle. The Great Pyramid is a very enlarged version of the hemoglobin that's in the middle of every one of our red blood cells. Every one of our red blood cells has a black 51 degree pyramid made out of iron.
I didn't know that. And I thank you for teaching me, sharing that. I learned something.
Well, look, I'm not teaching anything. I'm sharing. We teach ourselves.
Yes, sharing. Yes.
And I do teaching. I do teaching, but my teaching is literally, if I talk about a 51 degree angle pyramid, we're cutting out a 51 degree angle pyramid. If I'm talking about a 57 degree pyramid, we're cutting out a 67 degree pyramid, and we're working with that. Now, where we find the 67 degree pyramid in our culture?
Oh, well.
Yes, I'm listening. Wait, can you repeat that? Because you kind of went away.
I said, where do we find a 67-degree? Remember, I said there's different angles and different purposes. Where do we find a 67-degree angle pyramid in our culture, the United States culture?
I don't know.
I bet you $1 you do.
Okay. Oh, I don't know.
Back of the dollar bill. The back of the dollar bill.
I was going to say that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't know that, but I do now. Yeah. Oh, okay.
I told you you knew. Don't listen to me, okay?
Okay, y'all don't be mad chuckling at me. Wow.
No. We're all chuckling at the idea. We're all chuckling at the idea that these things are right in front of us, and until somebody had to point it out to me.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I'm listening. So, thank you, little sister, for sharing this podcast. Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm sure we're gonna give up my number at some point. You can write it down and call me tomorrow. But he'll tell you I answer my phone. I answer all questions.
Yes, he does. I will give it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
All
Mama.
right,
Mama Butterfly. You're welcome.
You bet.
So cute. Okay. Let's see. Caller 7472. I am going to unmute you. Hello. Hello.
Greetings to the sister that's hosting, and greetings to Brother Lester Loving. How are you again? It's been a while since I've heard you, since Sekou show you used to do.
Okay. All right. How you doing, brother?
I'm very grateful. This is Brother Kwame down there in Georgia. And I'm understanding, the energy you're sharing. I was hoping and looking at what you're putting in and defensing and working with how we can protect and how we can use the energy of the pyramids, but also we can use it's according on the location, but earthing and being able to, as you said, coil with the earth and putting a copper tube into the earth and coiling it and running it inside to your home brings the same frequency of the human frequency into your home. And, I'm an avid friend of Ross Ben, and Ross works and wrote Rock of Ages anew, dealing with the energy of the clear quartz crystal, melanin, and chlorophyll. All of those chemical makeups, all of those three, they're closely in the same chemical makeup, where they all have the same purpose for us as humans. Now, when you were saying putting the pyramids in the corner, and I was shown from a friend, is take a copper penny and put it up and tape it into the corner, face up, and putting copper.
Listen, sir. That friend of yours learned that from one of my classes from years ago. It's just that.
Well, right. But what I'm saying,
listen to me. I'm sharing with you. We've updated that now. We've updated that in the sense that if we use copper foil is even more effective on the triangle. And once I get my Zoom connection, you'll see the stuff that I make. But all I'm doing is enhancing what you're saying. Absolutely. Now, did your friend tell you that? No. Did your friend tell you that I said to clean the copper penny with lemon juice and salt? Because that's an essential part of that formula.
Well, to activate the penny, because that's the science of our ancestors, is how they use the copper to make light. And the salt water with the copper, you can produce an energy that gives you what is like an electrical current. So, cleaning the penny. That's a separate issue. What I'm talking about is
the salt and the lemon juice would take the toxins that the copper has absorbed out of the air, and other people who've handled that pain.
Okay, and no,
like the copper.
I usually go ahead.
No, you.
No, what I was saying is that when I get ready to do my rituals of doing things, I use sage and I smudge all the things that I'm using to do in my ceremony. And so in these smudging with sage, I look at that sage and that purity of clearing. It does that. And so for me,
all I'm trying to tell you is that when we burn sage, it produces negative ions. That's everything I've been promoting the whole show. That's all I wanted to add.
Okay. And the thing in looking at, I'm looking from you saying and dealing with negative ions. Fire produces negative ions and ions also.
Good.
When you were talking about water, waterfalls, and all. Right.
Good.
And sharing and doing this is that I'm seeing ways in which, for basically my home, because I have been digging crystals since 2000. And every year I go there, and each time I go is either spring or fall equinox. Because in that time, those crystals have been recharged in hot springs and the beds there. So bringing them out of there and then bringing them to my space and being able to have them as I have them everywhere in the house is the thing in which I know that these energies of what has been transmitted cosmically is now aligning with that and triangulating energy from others that I've shared crystals with, because of what they're being one of the main tools of the Earth grid. And you were talking about the pyramids in Giza. This is why they built you've heard of the Moody Pyramids in Galveston, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and they're on the 29.6 latitude, and what they've done is plugged into the pyramid of Giza and being able to triangulate the energy here from there on that grid and ley lines. So it's what I'm seeing is that excellent presentation of how we utilize and do things to deal with the ions. But I look at more so science to a point, but then we have to understand, we talk about spiritual. And in us doing our spiritual work is understanding the rituals. These are the items and the tools, but in working with the other energies of the unseen is part of what you're doing is clearing certain energies and giving you certain energies to enhance our own energy to work with what's in the unseen, like the alignments that are going on and the energies that are coming from above with the cosmic consciousness. It's all hand in hand. One works with the as above, so below.
So, but I have to say that what you said is placing those triangles up in your corner will enhance your crystals and every other ritual that you do in your home.
Okay.
I'm not making a big deal. I'm not talking. When I say the word science, I am not talking about meters and gadgets and infrared cameras that can see, spiritual beings. What I'm talking about is an effect that people that live in that house and interact in that environment, that they will get a benefit from in the real world in a tangible way. So that, regardless of what metaphysical properties or things are trying to pass through, that they also see a result just in their everyday lives. As I said before, there's you can look up any negative ion generator on the market, and they will tell you that it will break up smoke, dust, and particles. And there's so many industrial chemicals and things in the air. So even if people are not metaphysical, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. I'm covering both sides, that regardless of where people are at, this has functional things that people would have. I agree with everything. I agree with going out and getting your own crystals. Absolutely. You know, everything you said, I 100% endorse.
Okay. And I thank you because you're saying that science, and when you understand the definition of science, is really saying knowledge and how we have.
Well, see, once again, I don't really. I want, you know, I eventually want to know how you define knowledge, but in my particular case, I have done all these experiments. I have talked to the people who wrote the books. You know, so okay. I'm not saying that just because I did that I have science, but I'm not talking from that I'm well with that. You know, when I talk about toxins in the water, or like a better example, when we planted some callaloo in my backyard, in my mother's garden, and we had some people from the city back in the 80s, they had people that would come and analyze your soil, and they'd recommend, you know, certain minerals and things. And so these young ladies who were from Cornell University, they came to my backyard and they said, "What is this thing?" And I had a string pyramid up over the garden. And I gave them like a 2-minute explanation. And so they said, "Well, can we take a sample?" And they took samples of the callaloo growing inside the pyramid, and they took samples of callaloo growing outside the pyramid. And 6 months went by, I completely forgotten about them. And they called me up and all excited and wanted to come see me. And they came to see me and they said, you know, when he measured the callaloo that was growing inside, the callaloo that was growing inside the pyramid had 7% more vitamin E than the callaloo growing outside the pyramid. And so they did by the time they stood. Go ahead. So I'm just, you know, like the food lasts longer. You know, I've had meat that I've stored underneath my pyramid for months, not in a refrigerator, at room temperature. Now that's an extreme example, but it is something that once I saw that, I didn't have to ask other questions. Not about the pyramid, but about what else was possible and what's my next step and how is this information useful in my everyday life. Now, you know, of course, you know, everybody knows in our community that they put the beef growth hormone into the cow, you know, in order to, you know, literally beef it up.
Yep.
And if you take that beef growth hormone, if you take the name of it, you take it right off the label that the farmer is using, which I did, and I looked in the medical book, when that same chemical is given to a human, it's called a steroid. Right. And as we know, steroids are addictive. So, right, we've even been able to take the steroids out of the meat. Mm-hmm. How about that? I mean, is that useful? Anyone?
Yes, and I say it's a positive that if we could get our people to understand how just having that type of knowledge and seeing with factual facts that you've just proven by what you've shown, then you actually.
Well, I haven't proven anything. No, sir. I haven't proven anything. What you're saying is, if the young people saw us putting stuff into our pyramid every day and using our crystals to meditate with, you know, we wouldn't have to send them to school to learn about that. They would take that in as it is, because they'd be seeing it on a daily basis, and then they want to know more about it. Okay. I'm not correcting you. I'm just saying that a baby duck doesn't go to the library. It mimics what it sees the mommy duck do it. And most mammals do that. They mimic what they see the people in authority, or the people not people, but the animals taking care of them. So the more.
Could I ask a question on that? Yeah. And what you're saying is mimicking. And you've heard of the 100 monkey theory.
Yeah. Yes.
And do you see or say or see that as those 99 monkeys that go down to wash their food, when the 100th monkey goes and does the same thing, does that activation goes to all monkeys will begin to follow that same pattern through the process of those 100?
What's the question?
Is that part of what you're sharing and saying? You're saying you understand the 100 monkey theory, and the thing is that those 99 monkeys began, and then somehow or the other, through our connection and oneness on this planet, it sends out that to where they begin that same pattern of washing their food.
Okay. What I'm saying is one step above that. Okay. The 100th monkey theory. The 100th monkey theory says that the 90, one monkey saw another monkey cleaning the fruit, and then another monkey saw that and mimicked it, and the 100th monkey didn't see a monkey cleaning the fruit, and osmotically started doing it.
Okay, and that's what I was sharing. You were saying about the youth.
No. Listen to me. I'm trying to answer your question. What I'm saying is, by us putting 99 pyramids out into the world, okay, and people, like if I mailed out 99 pyramids tomorrow, I mailed one to you, I mailed one to my friend in Canada, I mailed one to my friend in Australia, I mailed them to 99 places, okay, and each person started using it in their own way, so they're not even using it the same. Somebody put it on the shelf and just have it. Somebody put it on their altar piece. Somebody, start using it for their water. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying that right now we're in the 10 monkey theory, and what makes the 10 monkey theory different is that at once everyone will know what to do. Okay. It won't be 100. The 100th monkey will do the thing. What I'm saying is, the 100th monkey thing is outdated. It's speeding up, and there will be a shift. That's why there's so many hindrances and things out here right now to stop us from doing this. Because we're very close to having what's it called? I can't think of it.